Hey there, dudes. I'm Owen. I'm 25. This here's my best friend Abel. And this here story I'm about to tell is about how we almost lost our friendship over a lady. Before I tell you about this gal that swiped right, go ahead and like and subscribe for more Hidden Wisdom stories. Abel calls me a player, but I say he's too shy for his own good. We play doubles together, and we're an unbeatable team on the billiard table. When it comes to the ladies, however, Abel has zero game. But he just says that's the point. It's not supposed to be a game. And I guess that's where we differ. He had this bad habit of rambling about his action figure collection whenever he gets nervous. And he screwed up my chances with so many ladies, I can't even count. But that's cool. I didn't hit the bars with Abel to talk to girls. I did it to practice. There was a cool 10 grand cash prize for winning this doubles tournament that me and Abel and I were slaughtering. So far, we were undefeated in the semifinals, and everybody around was putting their money on us to walk away champions. If we could win this tournament, maybe we could make a career out of it, I thought. Most evenings, Abel and I would meet up at Vince's Tavern to play, and we'd stay out till last call, knocking the pockets. I remember this one rainy Saturday night, we started talking about this lady we always saw at the bar. She dressed like one of those goth girls, and I wondered why she would hang out at a bar with a bunch of sports fans. She'd just sit there, drinking a glass of wine and reading a book of all things to do. How the heck could she concentrate with all those rowdies spilling beer around her? I don't know why, but I started cracking some jokes about her to Abel. And we made up this story where she was a million-year-old vampire that came to sports bars to feast on heartbroken fans. One night, I couldn't sleep, so I was swiping through my dating app. Eventually, I came across this one profile that seemed different from all the others. She called herself Belinda, and she used a blurry picture. Her bio just said there was a confederacy of dunces out against her. And I don't know why. I just swiped right. Well, you probably know what happened next. We got a match, and we were chatting up a storm in no time. We agreed to meet up the next night, and I should have known something was up when she asked me if I knew a place called Vince's. Like the back of my hand when I'm sinking a bank shot, I said. When I got there, she was nowhere to be found. It was just me, a few barflies buzzing around, and that old vampire lady. I waited for a while, thinking that she stood me up. When I saw the old vampire looking over at me, I was going to leave, but then she waved me over. No, it couldn't be. Not this lady. She wasn't my match. Was she? Oh, snaps, she was. I was going to make an excuse and get lost, but something made me stop. And I thought, it wouldn't hurt to have a drink. I was kind of curious what she was reading, and she told me some title I didn't know and can't remember. But it sounded interesting the way she said it, and I picked up on an accent that I couldn't place. I was surprised by her energy, and I got caught up talking to her for hours. But I got snapped out of whatever trance I was in when I saw Abel walking into the bar. I completely forgot we had practice that night. And for some reason, I grew cold with embarrassment at the thought of him seeing me with old vampire lady. I told her I was late for something or other and rushed out of there. I grabbed Abel on the way out and told him we had to go to another bar because I ran into a crazy ex-girlfriend and she was probably stalking us right now. We found another spot, and I tried to keep my mind in the game. But I kept smiling about Belinda all night. I called her the next day to apologize for rushing off, and I offered to make it up to her. With my old girlfriends, I'd lose interest after almost a week. There was something different about Belinda. Belinda told me she was seeing other guys, and wanted to keep our relationship casual, if that was cool with me. It was kind of eating me up, but I was trying to be cool. Me and Abel had practiced at that new pool hall. I tried to keep my eyes on the prize, but Belinda wouldn't get out of my head. And even though we won our semifinals match and made it to the finals, I knew my game could have been stronger. I kept wondering who else she was seeing, and worrying that maybe she liked whoever this guy was more than me. Or worse, what if there were several guys, and I was on the bottom of the totem pole? One time I called her up, but she told me that she was busy. I called Abel, but he was busy too. So I had idle hands. And I wondered if Belinda took her date to Vince's. Maybe I'd swing by to see what I could see. She wasn't there at first, and I figured I'd shoot a few games and call it an early night. But then I saw her. She came in holding hands with some guy, but I couldn't see him through the crowd. I followed him to the back and pretended to take a selfie. I zoomed the camera in close over my shoulder. When I saw her date, I couldn't believe it. It was Abel. Finally, I was desperate for a woman, and she was dating my best friend too. Nobody was lying exactly, but I still felt betrayed, and I got this surge of masculinity. And I marched right up to them, sat down, and joined those two lovebirds on their date. Yeah, they reacted as you'd imagine, surprised and passive-aggressive. And I think it was probably the most awkward 10 minutes of Abel's life. Belinda said she wanted to keep seeing us both. Me and Abel started getting more and more competitive. At first, it was just words. I reminded Abel that he had no game with girls. And he told me that I was too simple-minded for a sophisticated girl like Belinda. We competed with the size of the flower bouquets we bought for her and how much money we'd drop on dinner. If Abel was sweet, I'd try to be sweeter. I thought I was going to win her from him for sure, but she kept saying she liked us both. Meanwhile, Abel and I weren't practicing. In fact, we didn't even see each other until the day of the finals. Just before the break, we gave each other a nod. We both knew we could set aside the Belinda drama and focus on what we came here for. We were off to a great start and won the first game. But then Belinda showed up and ruined it all. She came to cheer us both, but she brought the drama. I told myself to keep my head in the game, but there was this other little voice that was nudging me saying, "Show him up." I figured I'd flash one of those behind-the-back shots. I sunk it, but it lit a fire in Abel. Soon, we weren't competing against the other team anymore. We were competing against each other, and it was destroying our game. The finals were best 3 out of 7 games, and we were down by 2. If we lost another, we could say adios to the title. On our break before the next game, I took Abel aside, and we started arguing about the game and whose fault it was. We couldn't seem to get along about anything anymore, now that Belinda had come between us. Speaking of, she came around the corner to wish us luck. As soon as Abel saw her, he took her hand and called her his baby, just to irritate me. "She's not your baby, she's my baby," I said, and I kissed Belinda smack on the lips. Belinda pushed me off her and said she wasn't anybody's baby. The last thing she said was what we both needed to hear. She said it takes 2 to tango, and she didn't want to dance with either of us anymore, since we were too busy fighting. She couldn't have been more right. I learned that competition is a double-edged sword. At times, it could bring the best out of you, but other times, it could bring out the worst. And when you fight over a person, you're only going to end up hurting everyone involved. Abel and I agreed to never quarrel again. We came back to the game charged up, and we dominated our way back to the top. Now, if Abel makes this shot, we win the championship, so cross your fingers for us. Are you a competitive person? Tell us your story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Hidden Wisdom stories. Remember, when you share your stories, you're sharing wisdom.